All right, let's dive into these English speaking skills. You've given me a ton to work with here. Articles, research, looks like even some personal notes. I see TV shows in here too. This is going to be fun.
Well, it really seems like your sources are pointing to one big idea:
Oh, and what's that?
making English part of your everyday life. Like it's a lifestyle, not just a class you take.
Yeah, I see that. In fact, one expert even called it living in English. They suggest like thinking in English
Hmm.
all day long, even for simple things.
Right.
So what do you think? Is that even possible or just a nice idea?
I think it's more than just a nice idea, actually. It's about immersing yourself.
Cook, yeah.
Even if you're not, living in an English-speaking country. And you mentioned in your notes that sometimes it's hard to find people to practice with.
All the time.
So this living in English idea could help with that.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got this like constant exposure thing going.
Yeah.
But what about actual practice? You highlighted some research on mimicking native speakers.
Yeah. It can be really powerful, mimicking, especially for your pronunciation, how your sentences sound. There was this study, learners who copied actors from shows. Their fluency got way better, and their accents too.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool. But wouldn't you just end up sounding like you're doing a bad impression? I mean, where's the line between copying and finding your own voice?
That's where practice comes in. It's
Yeah.
not about being a clone.
Right.
It's about picking things to focus on. Like you said, you like those British detective shows.
Love them.
Notice how they emphasize words, the rhythm of their sentences. Try that out yourself.
So it's more like taking inspiration from them, not trying to become them.
Exactly.
I like that. Speaking of inspiration, your sources also mention music. You even included some song lyrics in your notes.
Music. Oh, it's a language learning goldmine. Rhythm, melody, vocabulary, it's all there.
Yeah,
And you already know the music, so it's easier to pick up the words, remember them.
right. But isn't there a risk of just memorizing without really understanding? I mean, we've all sung along to songs, and had no clue what we're saying.
Oh, for sure, that happens. That's why you got to be active with the music, not just like passively listening.
Okay.
Look up the lyrics, translate them, see how those words work in different sentences.
So more than just shower karaoke then.
Way more. And you even highlighted research on using music for pronunciation, remember?
Oh, right. Yeah, I did. What was that about again?
One study, people who sang along to English songs a lot, their pronunciation got noticeably better, especially vowel sounds and the way their voice goes up and down.
Makes sense. You really got to hit those notes. Music makes you pay attention to those little details you might miss in normal speech. Kind of like, tongue twisters, which you also highlighted.
Ah, yes, those. Pronunciation boot camp, but fun.
But do they really work? Or are they just a gimmick? I mean, when was the last time you had to say, she sells seashells in a real conversation?
True, you won't use them word for word, but they train your mouth to do tricky sounds.
Okay, yeah.
Think of them like targeted workouts, but for your pronunciation muscles.
Okay, I could see that. So we've got music, tongue twisters.
Mm.
You also found research about language learning games.
Games are great. They give you practice with vocab and grammar, but in a way that's fun.
Yeah.
It's social, too, less stressful. And you mentioned Scrabble and 20 questions, right?
Yeah, they did. Big fan.
Well, Scrabble is perfect for words, learning how to spell them. And 20 questions, that's all about thinking creatively, communicating clearly, all in English.
Those are good ones. But what if you're not really a games person or you just prefer quieter practice? I know you have some techniques for solo learners.
There are definitely options. In fact, you highlighted self-recording in your notes.
Oh, yeah. But isn't that kind of awkward? I mean, listening to yourself stumble through another language.
Maybe a little at first, but it's incredibly useful. You can hear things you wouldn't notice otherwise, like how fast you talk, your pronunciation, even those little filler words we all use.
So like a personal coach, but without anyone judging you.
Exactly.
I could see that being helpful. But what about the social side of things? Connecting with other learners, you said that's important too.
It is, and that's where online communities come in. Places like HelloTalk, Tandem. You connect with native speakers and other learners from all over the world.
I noticed you highlighted some success stories in your research. People actually making friends, improving their English through these online exchanges.
It's true. These communities provide a safe space to practice, share cultures, build confidence. You mentioned feeling a bit isolated sometimes in your learning.
Yeah, sometimes.
These communities can really help with that.
That sense of community, yeah. That can make a big difference. We've covered a lot already, but there's one more thing from your research I want to touch on.
Oh, what's that?
This whole idea of setting specific challenges, pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. You marked some articles about 30-day challenges, things like that.
Challenges, yeah.
Yeah.
They add like structure, keep you accountable.
Right.
You're more likely to stick with it if you've got a goal in mind.
Keeps you motivated.
Definitely. One expert even compared it to like marathon training.
Okay.
You wouldn't just run the race without practicing,
Right.
right?
Right.
It's the same with languages. Consistency is key. Challenges help with that. And you were saying you want to feel more comfortable using English at work, right?
Yeah, exactly. Meetings, presentations, all that.
Well, maybe a 30-day challenge focused on like business vocabulary, that kind of conversation could be helpful.
Ooh, that's actually a really good idea.
Yeah.
It's all about finding a challenge that matches your goals. Now, speaking of tools, you had a lot of articles about language learning apps. What's the deal with those?
Apps. They can be really useful, especially if you like things organized, a little gamified. They have lessons, exercises, some even check your pronunciation.
True.
It's like having a mini classroom in your pocket.
There are a ton of apps out there, though.
So many.
It's overwhelming. You specifically mentioned Duolingo, Babbel, and Speechling. What are they like?
Okay, so Duolingo, that's the fun one. Short lessons, like a game, good for beginners or if you're short on time. Babbel, they focus on real-life conversations, useful words. And then Speechling, that one's all about pronunciation. They even have real people listening to you, giving feedback.
So there really is an app for everyone. But what if you're more of a people person, not really into apps?
Right. Right.
You mentioned language exchange partners before. How do you even find a good one?
There are websites and apps for that too, connecting people, shared interests, learning goals. That's important when you're picking a partner. And, even personality. You want someone who will push you, but be nice about it.
It's like dating, but for language learning.
Okay, so we've talked about challenges, apps, partners. You're also big on this idea of not being afraid of making mistakes. You even found research about the benefits of, was it productive failure?
Exactly. Mistakes, they happen, it's normal, and they're actually really helpful.
Hmm.
When you mess up, you have to figure out why, then fix it. And that actually makes you understand the language better. That's a good way to look at it. But it's still scary to make mistakes, especially in front of other people. How do you get over that?
Well, you've mentioned positive self-talk in your notes. Focus on what you're doing well, even if it's small.
Yeah.
Be your own cheerleader.
Okay, that makes sense. And you also said it's important to have the right people around you, people who support you.
For sure. Find friends, mentors, whoever, who celebrate your progress. They'll give you helpful feedback, not criticism.
So it's not just about the tools, it's about the mindset, the people around you.
Absolutely. It all works together.
We've explored so many different approaches today. What are the big takeaways? What should our listener remember when they're learning English?
I think the biggest thing is there's no magic formula. It's about finding what works for you, trying different things, and practicing regularly.
And having fun with it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about singing, games, online communities.
Exactly. Learning a language should be enjoyable, not a chore. Enjoy the process, don't be scared to make mistakes, and celebrate every win.
Wow, this has been quite a deep dive. So much good stuff in your sources.
And we really focused on what you're looking for, right? More confident speaking English, especially at work.
Exactly. So as we wrap up, any final thoughts for our listener? Something to get them thinking, maybe even taking action?
Well, we talked about so many different things. Mimicry, music, apps, those online communities.
Right.
What one thing will you try this week? Just one thing to boost those English skills.
Ooh, good question. Will you break out that Scrabble board? Challenge a friend.
Maybe finally try that language learning app you've been thinking about.
Oh, or even record yourself giving a presentation in English. See how you sound.
There you go. Lots of options. The important thing is to do something. Take that first step.
Make that commitment to your learning journey. And remember, like you said, it's not just about the end goal. It's about enjoying the process. So go have fun, learn, and let that English shine.